So you're now the proud owner of a Gen 6 rucRak. And we're doing this video today to help you put this together, and none of you are going to read this anyway. So we're going to take you step by step, bolt by bolt, so even a third grader can do this. You can do this, I promise. So the first thing we're going to do is unbox this thing and see what we got in here. There's a decal pack. We'll get to that later. There's a QR code to the instruction manual that you're not going to read. And here are a bunch of parts. Now this has a bunch of hardware in it, as you can see. Now my wife is behind the camera here, and sometimes I can be an old curmudgeon, so she's going to give me some pointers from behind the counter on how to handle this. But as you see, all of these parts have a number on them. And what I want you to do first thing is I want you to take all of these bags and I want you to dump them out on the surface here so you have no idea where anything goes.
No, not that way.
Okay. All right. Probably keep them in the bag until we get to that part. How about that?
Okay.
All right. Now, so tools you're going to need. You're going to need, according to this instruction manual, which you won't read, the lug wrench from your vehicle, a 1/2-inch wrench or socket, a 9/16 wrench times 2, and there's some Allen keys that are provided in your kit here. And if you're fancy and have a toolbox that you didn't buy at Target, you may have a 7/36 Allen head socket and a I think this one's a 3/16. Yeah, a 3/16 Allen head socket. Okay, now we have all of our parts laid out, the hardware parts laid out, kind of in order where we know where they're at, and we can see and find them quickly. Now the first thing we're going to want to do is we're going to want to install these. These are your studded lug nuts, and these are what's going to hold the rucRak to your wheel. Now you'll see if my camera woman will come on around here. I've already installed 2 of these. So what you're going to want to do is you're going to take your lug nuts off and install these one at a time. And we're going to tighten it down with our 1/2-inch drive ratchet. Now it's on good and tight. And then what we're going to do is we're going to put this backing nut on there, kind of far back on all three of them, because the next thing we're going to do is we're going to come over here and we're going to get this plate out. Okay? This plate is the universal design. It fits Bronco, Jeep Wrangler from 1987 and up, and we also have one that fits the Bronco Raptor and the Land Rover Discovery. We're going to do this demo here today on a Bronco, but don't worry, Jeep people, we won't get any on you. And tea and crumpets will be provided for all the Land Rover owners. Now, what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to orient this plate, because that's going to be important as to how we're going to set up the next step. So it doesn't go that way, It goes that way. All right, now we want to remember that. If you watch my Will It Fit video before you purchase this and need the lug nut extensions, in other words, you have a deep wheel, you have a really wide wheel, and you need the lug nut extensions, the way you put these together is you put the extension in the back side of the original long lug nut, tighten it down really good, and then you put it on. And that gives you a lot of extra space there. So that's how you do that. Now, the next step is we're going to get these two bad boys out of the box. And you'll see that they have what we call nut certs on both sides of that. And I'm going to explain why here in just a second. I'm going to give you a quick reason why we do this. Now, people do all kinds of crazy stuff back here to your Jeeps and Broncos with big tires and deep wheel offsets and moving the tire up and down and crazy tire carriers and stuff like that. So we're having to chase all of that, and I'll tell you how we fix that here in just a second. But if you have a stock wheel and tire combo or stock wheel, all right, first of all, wheel, tire, rim. Okay? So if you have a stock wheel, then you're going to want to mount this plate to the front of these uprights so that they look like this when you have it on, and that it's on the tire side of this bracket. All right? If you have a crazy deep offset wheel, then you're going to want to mount this plate to the back side of the uprights so that the mounting plate is now touching the wheel. Okay? That gives us an inch and a half of play either way to move this in and out in order to catch those studs. All right? The other thing that we're going to have to talk about is that you see that there's 6 holes on each side of this. Okay? If you have a stock wheel and tire combination and no tire carrier extra that move that tire up and down, then you're going to want to use the middle 2 holes here. Let's get in here and show them that. So the middle 2 holes. If you've moved that tire up, then you're going to want to move this plate up so that the legs get longer. Okay? If you have a 2019-2020 Jeep Wrangler Willys or stock or X, something like that, for some reason they move their tires down so that you can move that down and move these legs up. So that's the 2 things that you're going to have to test on your vehicle to make sure this is correct, and I'm going to take you all through that here in just a second. So for this application, we're going to put them in the middle and to the front side of the uprights. And using part number 203 and the hex key that I provided for you, part number 301, we're going to put these in. We're going to put this together. Now, as you can see, it goes right in there. You can flip it around, do that. But I have a big boy toolbox, so I'm going to use this. So, here's the most important part of this. Listen, if this plate and these legs are not flush and plumb together, then you will have problems here in a few minutes. So make sure that this surface right here, let's get in here and show them that. This surface right here is perfectly flush and plumb before you tighten this down. Okay? If it should be really smooth. In fact, this one's a little off. I'm going to adjust it a little bit, and now I can tighten it down. All right, now let's do the other side. Okay, so now we're going to mount our flagpole holder, umbrella stand, and there's a hardware pack that says. So what we're going to do is, so if you've mounted your mounting plate to the front side of the uprights, then you're going to want to mount the flagpole to the back, like that. If you've mounted your mounting plate to the front side of the uprights, you're going to want to mount your flagpole to the front. The idea is it's going to sit in this little cavity here, so either way you mount it, it's okay, depending on how your mounting plate is mounted. So we're going to do this. And those are a little tight. Now, there's a lot of conjecture on which, if you're flying an American flag, on which side of the vehicle you need to mount it to. But we're going to mount this one to the passenger side. And there we go. So you're going to want to use your handy dandy Allen screw, Allen wrench, and your 1/2 inch wrench to tighten that down. And don't over tighten it, you will bend the pole. It just needs to be good and snug. Don't go all He-Man on it. There's no need for all that. They're lock nuts. They're gonna not go anywhere anyway. So there we go. On to the mounting. Alright. Now, then we're gonna attach our feet. And these go right here. So you want to come in here and show them where this goes. So this is the locking nut. I'm going to roll that down and you'll screw it up in there because we're going to want to give us some room. Okay, now we're going to install this, and this is another critical point here. So we're going to put this on, all right, and there's some backing nuts back here. Okay, see these that we put on earlier? What we're going to want to do is we're going to want to put some pressure on this plate right here, make sure everything's tight up against that tire, and then we're going to want to run those backing nuts all the way up to the back side of that plate. Now, if you get crazy and you don't put these backing nuts on, and then you tighten the front nuts up too much, it's going to bend that plate and nothing's going to operate correctly, and then you're going to call me and blame me. So, if we put those backing nuts on right there, They're fine, like that. And then we're going to install the front ones. That's not going anywhere, and you have to say that. Okay, so now the next thing you want to get out is your load handler and this little brown box here, which is your hitch stabilizer. And we're going to put this together right quick. So it goes like this, okay? And then we got flat washer, lock washer, nut, flat washer, lock washer, nut. Okay, and then it's going to go like this, and we'll get to that here in just a second when we go put it in. Now, the next step is we're going to put our load handler in, and then as you see, there's a slot there, and I'm going to show you why that's important. We're going to put our pin in right here and lock the pin in, and then that slot allows this to move in and out almost indefinitely, and then this locks it down, and I'll show you how that works. But the most important part for now is we want to set your feet so that they're good and firm against this load handler and dead in the middle when the gate is closed. Because this is what's going to take all of that dynamic weight of you going up and down the road out of the equation. So make sure they're good and firm on each side. And then we can tighten this up. And you want the bend up here. Then you're going to want to tighten this like you're locking your X up. A couple rounds on each side to keep it even. And that's what locks that in from going back and forth now. Now you're probably going to want to readjust here after you've done that. And this is important. I'm going to save you some money right here. These right here are $13.99 a set. If you don't lock this locking nut, you're going to lose them and cost yourself 13 bucks. So you're really going to want to cramp down on them. That's why you need 2 9/16. Now, if you find that you've got more than 3 inches or so here, 3.5 inches or so here, and your leg is not long enough here to capture this load handler, then one of two things have happened. You need to move this to this hole so that you can move the plate down, okay? Or you may need our feet extensions, which give you another 3 inches to play with. Okay? That's what she said. Okay, next step. We're going to put what we're calling our cover plate. Now this serves 2 purposes. It is a decorative piece, and and it adds a lot of stability to this mounting plate here. Don't skip this step. It's very important, and it will affect the operation of the rucRak if you don't put it on, and I'll be mad at you. I'm going to use the hardware 203, and that should be the last of the 203s to put it on. And this is the one that you're gonna tighten down really good, tighten the crap out of it, because that gives this backing plate some stability here. So go ahead and wrench down on it pretty good. And if you don't, you're going to lose those bolts, and then you're going to be calling me. Now, we're going to put our table together. So, what you're going to want to do is, you see that rucRak right there? You want to pull these little table legs out, okay? And they go on here like this, in those two holes, so that the leg part is on the outside here of the rucRak. Now, the way we're going to do that is we're going to take part number 204 and the nuts to those, 4 of those, part number 205, and we're going to run the button head on the back side, because this is where your table part is, so you want the buttons on the back. And then we're going to put this down like this, and then run the nuts up on them. Now, this is kind of important here. Before you tighten this up, you're going to want to make sure that this is good and flat against the surface there. You want this surface right here good and flush up against the table surface. So now you can crank down on it, because if you don't do that, it won't fit. Okay, and we're going to do the same thing on the other side. Now, to hang this table, you're going to want part numbers 210, which are the little knobs, and 211, which are the pins. Okay, now we can install the table. So if you'll see that little hole right there, and now this hole right here, we're going to find that, plop it in there, and do the same thing on the other side. So now you can fold the table up and crank down on your knobs. Now, if you found that you can't find these holes and these knobs won't go in, you can get one in but not the other, this plate's too tight. You need to back off of it. You put the backing nuts too far back. Back off of it, put the backing nuts back, and just put light pressure on it and tighten it back up. Okay, next we're going to put together the hinge system. All right, so that will involve part number 217, 207, 206, 201, 205, and we'll get through this. All right, so what I like to do is take out of these couple of these 217s, all right, and we're going to put a washer on there. That's 207. All right, we're going to put those through here. And this is an important part, folks. Don't skip this. Don't skip any of it, but this is important. 206, the little nylon washer goes on the inside there. And then you're going to take this leg with the opening in the back, because there's a cap on the other end, and you're going to put it over here like this. And then you're going to take two more of those little part number 206, the little nylon washer. You're going to put those on. It's important that you do that, it won't work. And then you're going to put that on. Then you're going to put two more flat washers on. And then we're going to take part number 205, and that's the nut. And we're going to put those on, and we're going to tighten them up. Now, this needs to be good and snug, not really gorilla tight, but good and snug. You see how the threads there are barely poking out the other side of that nylon? That's what you want to see. Alright, and then on the other side, we're going to rinse and repeat. Now, the next thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to assemble the pin and lanyards and all for the next step. So that's part number 212 and 211. So you're going to put those lanyards on there like that. And then the last two, you're going to put a washer on there like that. And then you're going to put that through there through the loop, because the next thing we're going to do is put this on. So you want to orient it so that the bend goes away from the tube. You're going to put that in there so that the wire lanyard is up against the bracket here. And then you're going to take part number 240 and you're going to put this on the inside there. And this middle hole right here on the tube here, we're going to put that whole assembly in there. And then we're going to use another washer on the outside here. And then we're going to use part number 201. And what we're going to want to do here is that we're going to want to put this 201 through the end of that lanyard. and then a washer behind it. And then we're going to want to pick this plate up here and orient it so that the L part of the bracket is going to the outside. And then we're going to put it through this top hole right here, like that. And then we're going to take part number 240, the thick nylon washer. We're going to put it right there, and then put that through that middle hole in that. Then we're going to take one more of these flat washers and a part number 205, and then we're going to take our Allen key and our 1/2 inch. Now this is going to be critical here. We're going to put this pin right here through that hole there, all the way through, so it protrudes through the bracket and through the tube. And then we can tighten down here, and this is where it gets a little tricky, because you want it tight enough to get into the nylon, but you don't want it so tight that you can't move this once it's in. So you want this to be just a little resistant when you're trying to move it back and forth. So that could even use a little more. All right, and then we're going to rinse and repeat that on the other side. Okay, now we're getting close. Now it's time to hang the hinge system, and we're going to use the last two of part number 217 and the rest of the washers and the rest of the 5/16 205. So you'll follow me around here, and I'll show you how we're going to hang this thing. So as you see, there's two holes right here. Ignore the top one. That's not for you. This is the one you want. So what we're going to do is, you see we've already got a washer on that 217. I'm going to find the hole here, like that. And the same thing on the other side. And then we're going to be washer here, nut here. Now slow down just a moment, because this is important too. This is a pivot point. So you don't want to crank down on this thing when you are tightening it. So my assistant will come to the other side here. I'll kind of show you where we want. You see that right there? It's just barely through the thread. That's all you need. That's all you need. It's through. It's on the other side of that nylon, and you're ready to go. If you tighten it too much, it will not operate correctly. Okay, last thing, well, one of the last things here. We're going to put these bolts, part number 208, into this basket, and then we're going to put the basket on the mounts. and then we're going to tighten them down with part number 209. And provided in your kit is part number 302, which is the hex key that will fit these bolts. Now, the bottom of this basket has 4 holes in it, 1, 2, 3, 4, and they are threaded. And what you're going to want to do is, you're going to want to very carefully thread that in there. Now, if you force it in there and you cross thread it, don't call me. It should go in there fairly easy. And then you can take the hex key that I was so nice to provide to you and tighten it down. Now, you don't have to crank down on it like you're a big gorilla. It needs to be good and snug, and that's all. Good and snug. And turn it around the other way, and repeat. Now, once those are in, you're going to want to take the basket so that the camera hole's at the top, and you're going to want to put the bolts that you just put in right there. Okay? So they should slide right down on there. And as you see, they come out the bottom. Okay? And that's where we're going to take a 9/16 wrench and part number 209, and we're going to tighten those up. Now, some of y'all have tried to call me and tell me that these nuts don't go all the way up to the nylon. I know that. I provide these nuts for another reason, and you'll find out if and when you ever buy a rucRak. And we're going to do it on the other side. So now I'm going to show you a little trick on how to get this to pin up perfectly every time. A lot of people struggle with this. So you fold it up like this, put your knee right here, because that basket has to be perfectly tight or perfectly perpendicular for you to get this pin all the way through. And that knee on there on the bottom there lets you do that.